I'm hiding behind this curtain because it's raining outside.
Maybe we should just listen to that instead of hear me talk.
I'm now doing the intro on my phone because my laptop microphone and camera are really bad, in case you haven't noticed in the past few videos. I promise I'll make better ones of those videos. But so a long time ago I got a video request to do like kind of like a brief drawing with a tablet, like some tips and tricks, and then also how to draw without a tablet. So I haven't drawn with a mouse in a long time, so we're gonna see how well that goes. But the first part is gonna be I'm just about to work on my last panel for this recent upload of my comic, which is part 2 of episode 2, which is coming out tomorrow, and I'm working on the last panel right now. So I thought that would be a good time to show you how I work with lines. The tablet I use, it uses different pressure sensitivities, so the harder I press, the thicker the line, the lighter I press, the thinner the line, which is how a lot of tablets work. So you have to keep that in mind when I'm doing the lines too. And I also work with different sizes in general. So I'll explain it more in the video, but just keep in mind that working with a tablet is a lot easier than working with a mouse, because when you're working with a mouse, you're just gonna have one solid line, because there's no like pressure sensitivity reader on it. But you can work with different sizes. It's possible to work with a mouse. I follow some Instagram artists who work only with a mouse, and their work is a lot better than mine. So it is possible. So let's finish my last panel for this comic upload, and then we'll try drawing with a mouse. I'm back behind the curtain, but it stopped raining. Alright, so there you go. That was the last panel I did. You saw that I used different size pens or pencils depending on the texture or line I wanted. For instance, when I was doing the overall outline, I was using 20 sized pencil, which is my default that I like to use for my art. But for like the finer details, like the texture on like the rock troll monster's skin, I went with like a size 10 or 12, just because I don't want different textures and lines and details to compete with the overall drawing. So in order for your eyes to differentiate what's happening, I like to use different sized pencils. I definitely recommend using different size pens for different parts of the drawing. So I know a lot of people like when I do like those line strokes for shading, that's when I would use like a lighter pen, just because I don't need fat lines for shading. But that could be a whole different video on its own if you want tips on when to use different size pens. I did touch upon this briefly in a Q&A because someone was asking me about getting like a straight line without being shaky. I use a stabilizer in Paint Tool SAI, and I would use it in Photoshop too, to where it helps you create those straighter lines, because if I didn't have it on, it would probably be shaky. So I use that. I use a stabilizer, and I also the quicker you draw your lines, the straighter they're going to be. So I know a lot of artists, when they're starting out, especially on a tablet, they'll go slow on their lines because they don't want to mess up and they want it to be clean. But that is what's going to add more shake to it. So just go fast with your lines. If you saw, I was doing Command Z a lot just because I mess up a lot. And when I'm doing those fast strokes, it won't turn out how I want. But so that's the process. You just draw, Command Z, draw, Command Z. At least that's how I do it. I know a lot of artists do it like that, but there could be some artists out there who just have a different process, but that's how I do it. Oh, it started raining. Okay, so now we're gonna try to draw with just a mouse. It's not gonna look that pretty, but I'm gonna see if I can do it. I'm gonna use different size lines, and I'm going to try to go fast. It might be hard with the mouse, but we'll see. So we'll see how that goes. That was a lot harder than I thought it was gonna be. It took a lot longer too. So yeah, I realized first off when I first started that the sharp line art that I normally do was not gonna happen with the mouse. I tried cranking the stabilizer all the way up as high as it could go, and it just does not respond to the mouse. So I took a different approach. I used a lighter brush, and I just turned down the opacity on the brush, so I could like build layers and be messy, do the messy sketch, do the messy line art, and then just use the eraser to carve away at the lines to get the lines where I want them to be. This is an approach I did when I was doing realism on my tablet. I would just do blobs of color, and then I would just use the eraser to carve out the shape that I wanted. I really like that approach, and I feel like it helps with the mouse. I'm sure there's ways to get a sharp line with the mouse, but I don't use it enough. I realized the more I got into it and the longer I was using it, the more comfortable I felt. So I'm sure if I practiced a lot, I could get pretty good with the mouse. But yeah, I recommend, if you're doing digital art, I recommend investing in a tablet if you can. It makes a world of a difference. But if you just want to do it with a mouse, look up a lot of tutorials. There's a lot of YouTube tutorials, way better than mine. But yeah, you saw in the video I was using different size brushes, different sized erasers. I would mess with the opacity a lot, so that way when I carved out with the eraser, it wouldn't take a huge chunk out. It would just carve out little bits at a time, so I had to keep working at it, and I feel like I work better that way. So there you guys go. I'm not an art teacher, so I'm sorry if this wasn't very helpful. I hope it's helpful to some of you. If you need me to help explain more, you could just DM me like always. All you guys always ask me questions and I'm happy to answer them. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. All right.